Mafuja Malik. I'm the chair for the Assurance of Learning Committee. And today we have a special guest from the Cybersecurity Department. Our guest today is Professor Igor Poklov. Hello, Igor. How are you doing?
Hello, Mafuja. I'm doing well. How are you?
Good, good. Igor, would you please introduce yourself? I know we are familiar with you, but if you want to say anything else about you, please, that would be great for our audience.
Sure. Yeah, originally I'm from Ukraine, and I got my PhD in computational informational sciences in upstate New York in Rochester, in Rochester Institute of Technology. I work in Sacred Heart since 2021, so this would be my fourth year, which is impressive. I just realized. And I'm in AOL committee for 2 or maybe even 3 years. So,
Great, yeah. So you are working on our AOL committee, I guess, like definitely for the last 2 years. So would you please share your experience serving on this committee or anything about assessment related tasks that you did?
sure. So I will be like honest that the first couple meetings I was completely lost what's going on. I didn't understand all those terms, business terms, financial terms, and of course AACSB terms. But then, more like with each meeting, I was more and more understanding. And as I like, the main goal was to improve the learning process of the students. So my time in on the assessment of learning committee here at Sacred Heart, um, it was like very interesting experience, I would say. Like we look at how students learn, how they perform across all our programs, and I feel responsible that I have to represent the cybersecurity program and computer science, like and all those engineering fields in general. And my focus to bring the specifics how to measure this quality of learning in students in this like very technical areas, and that I would say uh, pretty much different from the areas that are usually assessed by AACSB criteria. Um, yeah, so we try to figure out how to like make that's it's like teaching stick to the students and yeah, yeah,
Oh,
that I
that's
would
great.
say.
Yeah. So what you just mentioned, I have the similar experience when I joined on this committee. First few meetings, or I would say at least one semester, it took to know the terminologies, the entire process. And we are learning every day, every meeting when we are discussing any issues, we are learning. And you mentioned about your side, of course, engineering and cybersecurity, those are more technical than the business side. But I'm very glad that you are learning the business aspects because, both of the sides of this college, we have one goal, and which is that we will improve students' learning experience. That's why we are doing all these assessments. We are also checking what the initiatives the programs are taking to improve student learning. uh, there might be little differences between the ACSB process versus the ABIT process, but more or less, we all want to improve student learning. So, would you like
Yeah,
to
yeah.
share any difference
I mean,
or
it's
any
not always
similarities? Yeah.
yeah, it's not always easy, right? Sometimes you have to dig deep into the numbers and figure out what really those like number mean to students
Right.
learning. And we also like have to check that right things are checked and methods are used. You mentioned what would be the difference. Since I'm also responsible for cybersecurity ABIT, cybersecurity program ABIT accreditation, and now I'm familiar with the ABIT accreditation for the other programs like computer science, game design, information technology, engineering, electrical engineering, right? Computer engineering. I can see that. Like I want to bring those points from ABIT accreditation also to the AOL committee and include it into the overall process because it's valuable criteria and uh, it's different perspective on the learning process, learning like quality of the learning process.
Right. The terminologies are different, right?
Yes, yes. I mean, there are some similarities, but also, of course, there's lots of differences.
Right. That's great. Do you have any question you want to know a little better about the ACSB or anything about the assessment process?
Yes, like last assembly, faculty assembly, you talked about closing the loop and actually hand out the like these materials for all of us. Can you explain more what is the closing the loop process? Like what does it mean in more details?
Great questions. Yes. When I started first, I was very confused. What does it mean? Who will take actions? Who is mainly responsible for closing the loop? So closing the loop is the process that refers to the cycle of using assessment results to improve educational programs. So basically, ASSB means that the schools will show some curriculum changes that have taken place as a result of the AOL process. So if you remember, I shared a diagram. It's a 10-step process. So when we start a program, we decide what would be the competency goals, then we decide what will be the learning objectives, and then we develop the instruments to assess students' performance. And this is we call the development cycle. And then we start the measurement cycle. So for the measurement cycle, we first do the first round of data collection. For example, MBA program, we have several competency goals. And take one example of ethical reasoning skills. So what we will do once we have the assessment instrument, we are using an excellent case and the rubric. We use that one for an MBA class and we collect the data. And then we try to analyze the data, what are the strengths or what are the weakest points, whether the overall assessment shows that the competency goal is met or not. If we see that the goals are not met, then the program needs to take some actions, and that will result in learning improvement. And that may take a year or so, and then we will assess the same competency goal using the same rubric or instrument, and we will do the data collection for the second time. And once we collect the data for the second time, we have to also check whether all those interventions that the programs took that help to meet the learning objectives or show that is actually showing some continuous improvement. Once we do the second round of data collection and analyze the results showing that some actions actually help to improve students' learning, we are closing the loop. And that should happen at least one time during the accreditation cycle. That is what I mean for closing the loop.
Thank you, Mafuja. That's clear as it, really clear as it up.
Yeah, I know it's a vast topic. I hope wish we might have more time to discuss, but I would like to thank you very much for your time today. I'm very glad to know you are learning, joining the AOL committee, and I'm happy to explain the closing the loop process to you. And I'm sure many faculty, if they listen to this podcast, they will also learn it. Thank you very much, Igor. I
Thank
really
you.
appreciate your time today. And best of luck with your cybersecurity ABIT accreditation process. And thank you again for your time for taking the lead.
Thank you so much, Mafuja, for giving me this opportunity to share my experience being the committee member. Thank you.